365 cut. These are the meaningless ramblings of a Scottish redone whore and a pissy ex-video store clerk. Their ongoing mission is to set right the movie wrongs. They're gonna need a bigger podcast.
Hello, you are listening to the 365 Flicks podcast, episode 95.
Yay!
Indie Talk is back once more for you fine people. I am the Scottish Wheaton whore, Chris.
And I am the pissy ex-video store clerk, Kev.
You bet your arse you are.
You know what's really great about this? Our intro now, up to the point where like I say it, and I am the pissy ex-video store clerk, you're the Scottish Wheaton whore. We always, I don't know if it's like a conscious thing, but the theme tune always ends just as we say our name.
Does it really?
Yes. If you go back and listen to I always thought it was just me being a master editor. It really isn't.
So you shouldn't have told me that. I just thought you were being awesome in that.
We just have awesome timing.
There you go.
It's chemistry, banter, bants, top bants.
Fuck off.
But yeah, it tends to work out that way. And every time I edit this, I'm like, that is amazing. How do we do that?
Don't say bants.
Okay, I'm sorry.
You've ruined it.
But what I will say is, episode 95,
I know.
Indie Talk, and this was your baby.
Yeah, this one kind of came out of nowhere. So on tonight's episode, we have Nathan Von Minden, who is the creator, director, writer of an upcoming movie called Angry Men, which is about the Challenger disaster in 1986.
Yeah.
So this actually, the film page appeared on my Facebook feed last night. About, I don't know, at 10 o'clock or something like that.
And you were like, shit, yeah.
You know, it looked, I thought, this looks awesome.
Yeah.
This looks really, really cool.
As you tend to do.
Yeah, I'll check that out. And so, dropped him a message and got cracking and all that. Mm-hmm. And then, I was, about 2 hours later, I said, so when would you be free to come on? At that point, he said 5 minutes, but he was joking. And this was about 1:45 our time, because Nathan is in Texas.
Yep.
But so yeah, just kind of I said so we can do tomorrow night maybe. Mm-hmm. And so we recorded it earlier on tonight,
and history was made.
Exactly, Kevin.
History was made.
Exactly.
And I thoroughly enjoyed speaking to Nathan. This is I'm not as clued into these types of things as you are. Like you're into your history and all that. You like your bit spacey stuff and all that. Oh, spacey, bit too soon.
Don't do that.
You like your stuff like that. But I really got into this. As soon as we got talking to the guy, he's got a massive passion, which is what we're all about, is getting these passionate people on. He clearly knows what he's doing with his crowdfunding, because his page is fucking gorgeous. I love the way it's laid out. And spoiler, but you can actually get the script on his page. It's kind of freaked me out a little bit.
That's a new one.
That is.
It's freaked you out.
It has a little bit, because that's like, when they talk about we want to be transparent and all that, but you kind of wonder to yourself, well, how transparent are you actually going to be? But you go on that page, they are very transparent to the point where it's like, you know what? If you like our script, you can direct it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he says in the interview, if anybody wants to have a crack, they set away. But yeah, that took me by surprise a little bit. Mm. But speaking of this guy, got really into this. I really like the sound of the movie. I really like the sound of the documentary he's made as well. Yeah. So I'll give that a look as well.
Yeah, I started watching it earlier on Uganda Man. It's available on his website, nathanvonminden.com. And there's also a page about Angry Men on there as well. And that's, we want to help this guy get his film made. So go onto that website. It's also angrymen.com. Mm-hmm. And you can donate to the film on there. But yeah, I mean, the film sounds amazing.
It does sound really good. I love the sound of it. But that's enough about that. We're going to be going into the interview in a second. But you've got a job to do, Chris.
Oh no.
And you've had decidedly more beers than usual.
I've had 4 beers. That's from the other week.
That's not from the other week.
Bloody is.
Are you saying I don't clean out the cave after every recording?
Well, no, the place was howkin.
Howkin. So for the Americans, that is gumphin.
And for the Americans, gumphin is...
Stinging.
Stinking.
What does musky mean? When somebody says you smell musky, what does that mean?
B.O.
B.O. Right. Damn.
Means your balls smell. Did somebody tell you you smell musky?
I thought that was a compliment. Right, so let's go on then. Well, the thing is, right,
Did someone tell you you smell musky?
I went into work yesterday, and one of the lasses walked past us, and she goes, "Oh, something smells musky." And I says to her, I says, "What does musky mean?" And they were like, "Oh, you know, just like man, like a man smell."
B.O.
But you know what pissed me off about? No, you know what pissed me off about that? I had a shower the night before and a shower that morning. So how could I possibly have smelled musky?
Did you forget to put deodorant on?
No, I put deodorant on.
Right.
And I also had my hair nice and gelled. So what the fuck?
You still got that bald spot.
That's why. Fuck off. That's why
we never touched on that, did we?
No. That's honestly why I thought that it was a compliment. Because I was like that, and I thought I smelled quite fresh. No?
Well, maybe like you were fresh up here,
but not down there.
Clearly, like.
Well, what we should do is smell down there.
Maybe it was just that strong.
That's a whole nother podcast.
Yep. Anyway,
you got something to do. Let's get your job done.
You're going to completely derail the hell out of this now, aren't
You're
you?
never going to be able to do it now.
No.
I can guarantee you'll fuck this up now.
I'm not going to. I'm not going to.
Go for it.
Right, so we are the 365 Flicks podcast. You can find us on Facebook and Twitter by searching for 365 Flicks podcast. We're also on a couple of cheeky networks. We are on the Tangibout Network, the Wicked Radio Network, Weeby Geeks, Nerdly.co.uk, our British goddamn home, and on the Twitters, hashtag PodandFamily and hashtag BritPodScene. Also have a look at our shiny, awesome, shiny website, www.365flickspodcast.co.uk. Search for us and subscribe to us on the iTunes. Don't forget to leave a 5-star review because it makes us feel shiny.
It does. And we have a few. You know what it is? I might start reading out the 5-star reviews on the podcast.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Like that.
I think people would like that. Like, if they left us a review and then we read it out, they might like that. They'd be like, that might be yeah. Yeah.
Why the devil not?
We'll call it reviews and shit.
Why the hell not?
Yeah.
And also look for us, if you don't have an iPhone, you can find us on any other third-party podcasting app. Screw you, I didn't mess it up. I actually did that better after 4 cans of beer than I did it sober earlier on.
You there were he who would not be derailed. That was very good, well done.
Thank you very much.
Yep. And, I smell musky. So we are going to go into the interview with Nathan Von Minden right now. It's already in progress, and we will be back at the end for a little bit of, I don't know, goodbyes.
Mm-hmm. Not bad. Never that.
Not bad.
Never that.
Okay. Interview in progress.
Challenger, go with throttle up. Challenger, go with throttle up.
Engines even working, and there's been serious damage to this spacecraft.
They blow up and they die.
That is not the argument. We're talking about time, not whether or not these guys are.
I'm not going to sugarcoat this for you. You got to turn everything off.
What's the matter with you guys?
Now.
Roger. One. It's possible. Very probable.
They give our guys 45.
I still can't believe that I'm going to actually be going into that.
Okay, right now we are joined once on Indie Talk once again by Nathan Von Minden of the upcoming film Angry Men. Nathan, welcome to the 365 Flicks podcast, my friend.
What's up, guys? Thanks for having me.
You are very welcome. You're very welcome. Welcome to 365. And yeah, this is a first.
Yeah, I think this makes us a legit podcast.
Because we have a rocket scientist turned filmmaker on the show.
Yeah.
This is pretty cool.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. We will talk the intricacies of rocket fuel and everything like that.
Oh my Christ.
No?
No.
I never said I was a good rocket scientist. I just said I was a...
You don't have to be a good one. You just have to be able to talk.
Exactly.
How did that come about? How did you go from being a rocket scientist into a director? How did that happen?
It's a pretty drastic shift in careers.
Yeah, so what happened was I was in school for engineering and tripping along and throughout my childhood and teen years, I'd always loved movies. I was a kid into the arts, but also loved math and science. It's just that's the way I was built. And so I go through the engineering thing, and I start making these films with buddies, And about this time, I'm serving in a church there in Daytona Beach, where I'm going to school at Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University. And they see me making videos, and they go, "Hey, can you come be our video guy?" And so that's kind of where it took off from there. And I just started being the video guy until I started to become more of, over the past 14 years, I've been working in production in the church environment and been making films and movies ever since. And you'd be surprised at how well an engineering degree and an education comes in handy. Because, I mean, what is filmmaking? It's problem solving, communication, collaboration. And so, I mean, those are some of the great skills that I picked up at the school that I went to. And so, it's a fun party quirk, too, to be a rocket scientist.
Oh, I can imagine. Definitely.
So how many times has that bought you a beer? Just, I'm a rocket scientist, buy me a beer.
Oh, man. Not near as much as it costs to be a rocket scientist.
Yes, but it's a bit of a false economy, really, when you think about it. So you've, as you say, though, you've developed a lot of short films and produced a lot of short films. And I was looking through your website earlier on, and there's some pretty cool ones in there. So, what was the first proper short film that you worked on?
Oh my gosh, man!
I know it's been 14 years. Is that right? You've had a career of 14 years, but
yeah, I mean, honestly, like there was a guy I was reconnecting with, a friend of mine from back in the college days, and we were talking about some of these videos, and they're so cringeworthy. The stuff that I made over a decade ago, it's truly like it makes my skin crawl to think about some of those things. And I mean, the fact that nobody kind of slapped me upside the head and said, "You should really stop doing this." It's one of those deals. But I guess the naivety of just keeping going and not stopping has paid off. And so we've produced some really neat stuff. One of my my first film project, Uganda Man. I'm jumping too far ahead here, but that's probably my first film project that we worked on. It was about the water crisis in Rasheri, Uganda. So, I mean, over these last 14 years, produced a lot of stuff, including, short films, people's stories, stop motion, some action-y things, special effects, just all kinds of junk out there. And so the reason we jumped into Uganda Man as the first film was because it was a documentary. And so I spent some time prepping on that film and trying to raise funds for them. I mean, the film was made to raise funds for them to help with this water problem in Uganda. And so we found a really neat story of this guy there that's doing some amazing work and just went out and did it and shot like crazy for a couple weeks and then edited our brains out until, so I think that's probably the first big film project that I worked on was Uganda Man.
I loved it. I started actually watching that this afternoon. I'm going to finish it over the weekend. I love the opening as it's moving through the different buildings. It looks great.
It's
really
when
cool.
you work on budget at our level, it's like you really have to do something a little out there to get people's attention, and so that was a really interesting project and how we were able to make it successful because we didn't sell the film. In fact, you can go on YouTube right now and just type in Uganda Man movie and it'll come up. What we do is I watched that. Did you ever see that documentary, The Cove, about the dolphins in Japan?
Yeah, I've seen it, yeah.
Yeah, so what happened was I watched that movie, and at the end of it, it said, "Go text this number to give to the dolphin," or whatever. Cool. And I found myself going, "Oh, wow, I'm going to do that." And then I thought, well, I don't care about dolphins. But it moved me, and I thought, wow, this film made me care about this. And so that's what we did with Uganda Man. And so people go to Attack Poverty to give because they watched the film, and that's how that film was able to help that whole crisis, which I just love because it shows how movies and film affect people's hearts and minds and can transform a community.
Oh, definitely. Movies is one of those things out there that definitely does connect. Like it's a universal medium. To be fair, we love film, so
of course we do.
Completely agree with you. So there you go.
But Uganda Man has done really well, isn't it? It's you've won awards with it. Is that right?
Yeah, we won a few awards with it, and got it seen by a bunch of people. And it's just a good. We were blessed enough to find a good story. I mean, it took a little bit of time. Communicating with Africa can be a little bit difficult sometimes, and so we were able, through a lot of the partners that work there already. Like we worked with an organization called Living Waters.
Good stuff. Good man. I mean, that's just impressive as hell. It really is. It really is. But yeah, obviously you are here tonight to talk about Angry Men, which is your second feature film. So first of all, Nathan, tell us a little bit about the plot of the film. I was reading up on it before. It sounds great. So tell us.
Really into this.
I am. I really am. Tell us a little bit, Nathan, about the plot.
You can tell he's excited.
Angry Men is the true story of the night before the Challenger explosion in 1986, when a hot-headed engineer leads a desperate race against the clock to stop the launch and then the subsequent cover-up and whistleblowing.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm excited by the story. I learned about the story about 8 years ago and started researching it and writing it, and we kind of got to a place in the filmmaking journey where we said, we're ready to do this, and let's go for it. And so we sort of pulled the ripcord, and we're really, really going for this thing. We love the story, not only because it's exciting, it's also, makes you a little bit angry when you think about it, that they knew that was going to happen. And so it's exciting. It's kind of blood boiling, and it's just a really fascinating, interesting story of how it all goes down. And I've always been inspired and fascinated by flawed individuals trying to do the right thing in like this pressure cooker, time sensitive scenario. I guess they had to do it twice. Now that I think about it, they had to do it the night before the Challenger explosion, and then what happens is. President Reagan calls together this presidential commission called the Rogers Commission to do an inquisition into what happened, and they find out it's the O-rings. And so they're sitting there asking all these organizations, did anybody say anything? And they're going, no, nobody said anything. And our engineers have to step up and do the right thing again in the face of losing their jobs, losing respect in their own communities. They're going up against their own companies. I mean, my goodness, these poor guys really got put through the ringer, and so I just love it, dig it. Kind of surprised that I'm the guy that stumbled upon it, in this way, and telling this aspect of the story.
That's obviously you're saying because everybody sort of knows the story of Challenger and what happened with the explosion, and you're saying that there was a cover up on the go. If you don't mind me asking, and you don't have to answer it, but how exactly did you come across the story?
I was sitting in a meeting one day with a bunch of pastors, and this is about a year or two after I'd kind of left engineering proper as an employee to go and do film production work in the church environment. And so I'm sitting here with like 7-8 pastors, and somebody stands up and goes, yeah, I don't know if you guys knew this, but the Challenger, they knew the day before, and here's kind of some of the pressures they had. Billions of dollars at stake through the DOD and a few other things like that. And this person just kind of laid it out there and went around the room saying, what would you do? Would you have launched? I guess it was an exercise in like, considering the circumstances of decision-making, leadership or something. I don't know. But anyways, we go around the room and everybody's going, yeah, I probably would have launched given that information. And I just remember thinking as an engineer, that's backwards from the way engineering works. You don't prove that something will fail. You have to prove that something will work, especially when lives are in danger. And so it kind of set me off on this little adventure of. So I gravitate towards stories that kind of haunt me, And so, I hear something and then I'll let it go for a couple days. And this story it couldn't leave me. It bothered me on so many levels and inspired me on so many levels that that's what kicked off this adventure of learning about it and reading a lot of boring documents and, hearing transcripts and stuff like that. And so that's kind of what led me to the story and how I found it.
That's mad,
isn't it? I mean, I like the tagline, "They saw it coming," on the on the sort of poster thing that you've got on the website. So I take it there is, obviously don't get into spoilers or anything, but I take it there is sort of a strong conspiracy cover-up type plot line within the film.
Yeah, there is, and that's another thing that makes it an exciting story is, it's man against the machine, the big complex, the thing, and you've got guys like you and me who are just, because I think that's how many of us are, is we're just, folks trying to do the right thing, and few times in our lives we might be put in a circumstance where you got to make a decision right then and there. What are you going to do? What do you stand for? And that's what these guys had to do. They were put in that spot and said, okay, what are you made of?
Sure.
That's crazy. just to think that they see it coming and they know it's coming. So it's like obviously with you being in your profession, this is obviously a very important story for you to tell as well.
Yeah, it bothers. The thing that bothers me a lot about the story is the human life factor, and how that got lost that day in the midst of the decision making and leadership. And that's something. I live in Texas, and so that's something we're seeing in our culture and nation, even in the past few weeks, is how human life has been devalued. Now, I don't understand that. I don't. I mean, I know that evil people do bad things and bad things happen, but it just bothers me whenever I see human life so devalued, and that's something that got lost that day. And I think our main characters, again, are flawed people looking at it and going, I'm going to do what I can about it. And that's why I think it's important to put out stories like this. I mean, I think about the stuff that has inspired me over the years and even inspires me today. And I just, I'm attracted to that. And I think I'm built for making that kind of stuff, and it's fun and exciting to experience and see, and to go through this whole process and to see how many other people are inspired by these folks. And that's kind of why we've launched into this whole crowdfunding thing, is because we really want to get this thing out there.
Yeah, man.
So when you were studying, was the Challenger disaster something that was actually taught of what went wrong, what happened, why did it happen, kind of thing?
It's kind of one of those things that's always there, especially the school I went to. A lot of us there were in love with the space program and still are. I still do really appreciate what our nation does in the space and aeronautics industries. So this isn't like a hit job on them. It's more of a way to honor these folks who might have gotten a little bit lost in history, because even a lot of folks that know and were alive during the time, I mean, most people know exactly where they were when they heard about it. I think I was 3 years old at the time, but a lot of folks remember where they were. So it was always in the kind of in the air at school as we talked about it and thought about it, and most people know about it. It sort of defines. It's just one of those defining moments in especially American history, the whole Challenger era of life.
Quick side question while we're on about the studying aeronautics and all that. Do you watch movies like Apollo 13 and go, that's crap?
No, man. I love it. I like to like movies. So
yeah, but do you like see things? Because I know my father-in-law, he served in the army and all that. So sometimes when he watches like Saving Private Ryan or some of the later ones, he's kind of like, yeah, they didn't have those guns at that time. Do you watch like movies like that and you're kind of going, well, no, that's not entirely how that works?
Yeah, sometimes a little bit, but not like in The Martian when they're like the thing that makes oxygen out of nothing. You're like, okay, whatever. I'll give it.
I think that's the one that came to mind.
Just because movies, that's why.
I think Andy Weir took a lot of creative license with that.
I love movies that show clever characters actually being clever and showing how clever they are. And Angry Men is obviously is kind of a love letter to my favorite film of all time, 12 Angry Men, and it fits. I don't know. It feels like I just picked that title because it fit on so many levels. And I don't know if you guys have seen 12 Angry Men, if other people have, but it's just one of the best ever, and I love movies about that kind of stuff.
Great, man. So is focused? Well, obviously it is like the sort of the backroom staff.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely. Folks have been asking me like, how are you going to do, mission control on a budget like that? I'm like, well, I'm not doing mission control. The story actually takes place mostly in Utah. At this engineering company that was building the rockets that get shipped down to Florida to get launched. And so really, we're trying to shoot out this thing. Some of these places here in San Antonio that double as engineering locations. I don't know, so. Yeah, it's definitely behind closed doors, behind the big thing, what's going on. It's that kind of story,
But those movies right now, especially with the likes of Hidden Figures, kind of recently, not that long ago, came out with the sort of the women behind the scenes. They're very, very popular. And do you think we're going to see more of these type of movies coming out?
Well, I think what we're seeing is people are fascinated by the space program and by what goes on behind closed doors, and beyond just the rockets and the buttons and the cool machinery and stuff like that. They're curious about the types of individuals that get into this thing, and it's always fascinating to see who these folks are at the top of their game, at any level. Like there's a friend of mine that is an Olympic athlete, and it just fascinates me to no end to see somebody who's an expert in their field. And so I'm by no means an expert in aerospace engineering or anything like that, but it definitely fascinates me to watch or learn about these guys who were alive at this time and had to go through this whole process. And it's funny to see the personalities come out so much, because really our main character is like this hot-headed dude that it almost shoots himself in the foot, because everything's the most important thing in the world in his little kingdom of the O-rings, to the point where nobody will practically listen to him anymore, because it's that guy again. And, it's based on a real life guy who has since passed away. We've changed a lot of the names in the film to kind of, no need to put anybody through it twice or any of that stuff. But it's really fascinating to see a lot of these films. I think there's even more films coming out soon about the space program. And I think there's like a Neil Armstrong movie that's being made and some other things like that. So it's it's a really neat little market to play around in. So
are there any other NASA or space travel stories that you're aware of that you'd like to possibly develop after you've brought Angry Men out?
Well, we've been developing some other films, and one of the reasons we decided to go with this one next is because our other film, which is called The Smugglers, it's about a group of guys that try to smuggle 1 million books into communist China in 1981. That one's been tied up in some development stuff with a company in San Diego, so we sort of dove into this one because it's a little bit smaller, it's a lot of a smaller budget. And so we're hoping to get it made first and then move on to that one about the guys that smuggle those books into China, which I guess for some reason I'm attracted to stories that happen in the 80s. So
nothing wrong with that. Absolutely nothing wrong with
that. It's a fantastic decade. Best soundtrack.
Best soundtrack, definitely. Yeah. So let's go on. Let's just touch on the fundraising campaign then, Nathan. So obviously there's a fundraising campaign happening right now up until the end of this month. So tell us a little bit about the campaign and where people can find it.
Yeah, if you just go to angrymenmovie.com, you can give. And so we've got a few incentives on there that nothing too crazy. Someone gives $10, we'd love to give you a social media shout out. Someone gives $20, like pre-selling the film. We're just going to give you the movie whenever it comes out. And there's all kinds of levels. We've even got levels in which people can invest. You know, when you donate to a crowdfunding campaign like this, there's no hope of a return on that. But if folks do want to see a return, that starts at $1,000. And so we've got we've raised about $17,000 so far out of the $79,000 budget. And if someone wants to go in as an investor, check out that website, angrymenmovie.com, and you can go there, learn a little bit more about what that might mean, what that might look like, how to get in contact with me. But we're happy to talk with anybody about it and bring on board whoever has a passion for this and wants to see this story made. You know, one of my favorite things to do in film is work with other creative people. You know, I just really dig hanging out with other creative folks that love film and every aspect of it, the music of it, the making of it, cameras, lights, all that stuff. And so we love to collaborate with anybody who might be interested on the crew level or acting level that's, you know, willing and able and ready to work on a really exciting project like this.
Good stuff. I love the progress bar, by the way.
Yeah, the
on the
progress
website.
bar's cool.
Yeah.
The progress bar of the rocket looks great. It looks cool.
Oh, yeah. The progress.
I think the page itself, I think it's www.nathanvonminden.com/angrymen is a fantastic page. Like, you look at some of these Kickstarters and these Indiegogos, and there's not like, they all seem quite generic the way they're laid out. I love the way yours is laid out. I love the video you've put together at the start as well, when you're just kind of like, go on, read the rest of the page, I'll wait for you. I was sitting there waiting for you to say something, and I'm like, he's not talking.
Yeah, you know, I've produced a lot of, like, I love making funny stuff, you know, and so we've actually produced a lot of, like, short comedy film. We've produced a lot, actually. There's a few dozen of them. You can find them on my website, nathanvonminden.com. And, you know, Angry Men is definitely a very serious subject, but I can't help it. Like, the folks that I work with and do work with, we can't help but have a comedic undertone to a lot of this stuff. And, you know, and that even goes with our crowdfunding. Like, we're guys that sit around and make jokes, and, you know, I've got 6 kids and a wife, and we like to make jokes with each other. And so we're like, we can't do this without trying to be funny. No. And so we've tried to put a little bit of humor into it, and, you know, made ourselves laugh for whatever it's worth.
Genuinely, I think the page is just brilliantly laid out, and you've got a lot of detail on here, like, and going into where the money's going to go. I think it's fantastic. I really like this page.
Well, I got my hand slapped really hard. You know, when we tried to fundraise for the other film first, you know, we had investors going, you don't have the correct information. Like, what is this Mickey Mouse stuff? And I was like, oh man. So we've really learned our lesson on how to present to people. And, you know, when you start looking at these crowdfunding things from your own perspective of, you know, taking serious other people's hard-earned money and showing them that you can be responsible with it is really important to us, on top of, you know, because we want to be fiscally responsible and creatively responsible, which is tough, you know, it's a tough gig.
Yeah, it's a hard one to get right. So, yeah. And how are you finding the crowdfunding? Because we have quite a few people come on the Indie Talks to talk about their campaigns, and they always come out with the same response, that it's an absolute ball ache. So how are you finding your crowdfunding campaign?
Well, you know, one of the things we tried to do was raise some money before we started raising money, which is just like the, you know, pounding the pavement on the phone, you know, from morning till evening, talking to people. And once we launched it, I think it was around the 1st or 2nd of November, we had a pretty good response. We found a lot of folks are wanting to invest in it, and some other folks that are still considering it. And yeah, you know, I mean, it's like anything else. It's work, you know, it's hard, dogged work. But I get to connect with old friends and a lot of new, interesting people like you guys. And it's a really cool process, and it's just fun, you know. I mean,
we always get told that, people don't enjoy the experience.
No, they find it a bit stressful.
They enjoy reaching out, like you say, but they find it stressful. So what's
I think the first people that you kind of ask for money, it's really awkward. You're like, hey buddy, how's it going? Can I have some money? It's the weirdness kind of wears off, and if you're not weird with people, then they're not weird back, and it takes a few to get there.
So you're looking for, you've obviously got a budget in mind, but is there a case of if you don't quite make the budget, and hopefully you do, are you still going to be going ahead with the movie, trying to get it made?
Oh yeah, heck
Definitely.
yeah, man.
Good man.
1,000%. We've definitely passed the point of no return. I mean, we'll just get more creative if we have to.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that we'll raise the amount. I don't know what's going to happen. We might raise more, we might raise less, but with what we have, we're pushing forward. And if we have to change the script to make it bigger or make it smaller, we'll do whatever it takes, because we're a heat-seeking rocket-guided missile on making this thing happen. Like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. This movie's happening, and we're pushing forward, and come hell or high water.
That's what I like to hear.
And you know what? I fully believe you. and that's what I like to hear.
One of the things I wanted to mention to you is the concept trailer that's on the website as well, which looks great.
Thank you.
How long did it take to come up with, to put that together?
The actual sitting behind a computer. So there's a concept trailer on angrymenmovie.com that has like clips from Apollo 13, Hidden Figures, 12 Angry Men, The Insider, a bunch of stuff, and it's cut together with a piece of music that's really brash and loud, and it kind of shows what our film is about. And so sitting down to actually make it, I think I did it in an afternoon.
Right.
Now, I had to, the inspiration didn't strike for a long time. So I'm making all these calls, and I'm knowing I need to make one because I've made one before for our other Smugglers movie. And I didn't want to just make some piece of crap. And, I wanted to make something that was like hit you in the face, right hook kind of a deal. And so I found this piece of music that really inspired me, and I thought, this is it. This is the thing that's like brash and loud and in your face, which we have to be at our budget level. We have to be creative about the type of music we choose and how we're going to do this thing. And so once I found that piece of music, it was off to the races, man.
Great. I just wanted to mention that because I watched that this afternoon and I was just blown away with it.
So
appreciate that.
As it stands right now, it says that you're aiming for a release date of like spring, summer of next year. How likely do you think that's going to be for you?
Well, Daddy's got to put food on the table, so it's going to be pretty likely. We've got I think a 16-day shoot planned. There's no joking around with us. I think a lot of the experience I've gained in working in church work is the weekend is always coming. Sunday is always coming, which means you have to get it done by Sunday no matter what. And so for the last 14 years, I've been working under this high pressure scenarios to get things done right away with $0. And so, this film is going to be no different. It's like, we got to get it done in 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks, get it shot. And then we plan to have an editor on set to make sure we're getting what we need, kind of an opposite schedule of what we have. So that person will be cutting and editing while we're, or sleeping while we're filming, and then cutting and editing while we're sleeping, to make sure that we're getting what we need. And then by the end of the film, hopefully have something pretty solid base to start with. And then we've got some really great musicians wanting to work on this. A good buddy of mine that's teaches symphonic composition up at Cedarville in Ohio, at one of the universities. He's done plays and ballets and other films, and he digs the story and wants to work on it. And that's kind of the thing, is it's like you just get to know so many people and you're able to pull something like this off. And that's kind of what we're relying on, is so many great folks that know and love this story and that we've had experience working with, and we know that we can get the job done.
You tend to find that with projects like this as well. Like when you are on such a tight budget and you do kind of go to people, you do tend to find that most people just want to jump in and give you a hand. And that's something we've found through other Kickstarters with other people we spoke to. It's always nice to hear.
Absolutely. We are still looking for a lot of, in this whole crowdfunding thing, we're also kind of looking for other professional folks, really key positions. Some of our main actors, we're looking to pay them. We're looking to pay our, DP and sound folks. We want it to sound great. We want it to look great. And a those are some of the areas where we're not going to skimp or save money or try to do any stuff. And, you know, there's a lot of roles and parts and hands that can come and play a role in this thing at some of the smaller levels. But yeah, we're definitely trying to keep our quality high and where it counts.
And you also have to remember the catering.
You have to remember the catering.
Yep. Something you forgot. Something you forgot when we were filming.
Shut up. Now, when you're actually coming to filming it next year, or whenever you actually get around to filming it, are you actually planning on showing the rocket, the shuttle in its entirety, or is that going to be some CG going on, or
no CG?
No CG, right?
Well, I mean, like, yes and no. There are some plans. It depends on the budget. Like, if we have to punt on a few things, one of the things we're going to punt on is, you know, there's been plenty of films that have used a mixture of you know, what we're making plus some documentary footage, like JFK or even Hidden Figures. Some of that, you know. We've sort of, you know, that's one of the things I've struggled with as a filmmaker. As we, you know, even Uganda, man, like you're out in, you know, some of the worst places in the world, slums with little kids running around. It's like, at what point? I mean, this is just something I personally think about a lot. Is like, what point is human suffering entertainment versus, you know, something that's meant to be experienced at another level? I don't know. I mean, that's something that we think about when it comes to showing the actual explosion or what these astronauts went through. Because one of the things I found out through the research is, you know, it seems like some of the astronauts survived the initial explosion because there's an emergency sequence that had to go through for some oxygen or something like that. And some of that had been gone through, meaning it can't happen on accident. Somebody was pushing buttons and doing things after the initial explosion. And so, yeah, you know, we're still kicking around some ideas and things like that. I want to be responsible filmmakers and responsible to, but also we don't want to shy away from the hard things and, you know, in life. And that's one of the great aspects of film is you get to weep with those who weep and mourn with those who mourn and celebrate with those and, you know, be inspired and crushed and all that stuff, you know.
I think as well, sometimes what you can find and sometimes what's really effective in the sort of the independent movies scenes is that sometimes when you don't necessarily show the action but you show a reaction, that can be a hell of a lot more effective anyway. Yeah. I mean, we're definitely gonna have to get creative. So
yeah,
definitely. I mean, it sounds like you're gonna have to get very creative.
But that's, you know, that's part of the excitement and the fun with creating a movie like this, where, you know, you don't have, you know, 100 million to spend on it, where you've got to, you know, you've got to make it with what you've got, and that's part of the excitement, isn't it?
Oh, definitely. It is. But speaking to you. Just for this last half an hour, you've definitely got a massive passion for it, and it sounds to me like if anybody could do it, it's going to be yourself and your crew. So I'm looking forward to seeing what you do with this, definitely. And I'm actually quite drawn to Uganda Man as well. I'm gonna give that a go. But it sounds like you don't pigeonhole yourself into any one thing. You're kind of going different genres, different ways, and that's the sign of a good filmmaker for me.
Yeah, you know, I just go where the stories that I get my hands on and that inspire me and haunt me and push me to do that. I serve the story.
I won't lie as well. The Smugglers story sounds brilliant.
I was reading that on the website this afternoon, and that actually sounds really interesting as well. So where did you find that story then?
Well, you know, what happened was I was, for the longest time, working on a project called, with this radio program, you know, like it was big in the homeschool community, which we're kind of weirdo homeschoolers. And so we were working with this project, and what happened was the IP fell through, meaning the company that owned it sort of like fell in on itself or whatever. All that to say is a few years worth of work went down the tubes. And so I kind of had to regroup and go, wow, you know, what do I do next? Like, and I started going, you know, the things that I've had most success with are true stories like Uganda Man and a lot of the stories we've produced of people's lives and things like that over the years. And I thought, you know, I need to find a true story that inspires me to to tell that's within the realm of possibility. And I started looking at people that were, flawed characters trying to do their thing. And so I started looking for like a smuggler story that people smuggling for the right or good reasons. In this case, it had to deal with was the guy that was instrumental in making this crazy story happen back in the 80s, and got to know him. And that guy's name is Bill Tinsley, and was able to secure the rights to his film. And he actually became like a mentor of mine. He's since passed on because he was dying of cancer. But got to know that guy really well, got to know his story really well and his family. In fact, we named our sixth kid after him. Our newest daughter's name is Tinsley. And so, just getting to know that guy and what he's about, and he's just the type of dude I want to put up in front of a lot of people and say, this guy inspires me, and I think he'll inspire you. And so that's kind of what's led us on the journey for the Smugglers, and how we found it, is just thinking of a story, or thinking of a little niche that inspired me, and then I went and found something that was, great, and that's what we did.
By the way, six kids, I salute you. I've got 3, and that's far too much.
I think whatever number you have is the hardest.
Definitely. So one more time before we move on to the last couple of questions we have, if you could just pimp out the campaign where people can go to donate to the film.
Yeah, we would really love it if anybody gave anything. angrymenmovie.com. You can go there, click on it. Safe, easy way to give. And then also check us out on Facebook. You just look up Angry Men Movie, and you can find us there. Or you can find me, Nathan Von Minden. I'm on all kinds of stuff like Facebook, Instagram. But really, angrymenmovie.com is the place to go. We'll keep a bunch of updates there for people. And once you're on the team, you're on the team. We keep you updated. We make sure you're getting all the stuff that we said you're going to get. And, it's an exciting project to be a part of. So angrymenmovie.com, y'all. Go check it out.
Definitely, and as much as we can, we'll share everything we can on our Facebook and Twitter as well. And I can't wait to see what goes on with this.
Yeah, I was looking at the Facebook page earlier on as well. It's it's a good page. It's a good page. There's a lot of stuff on there.
Cool.
I actually did. I was reading. I think it was on your Facebook page where you did a lot of. Maybe it was a few weeks ago or something like that. You wrote a big, quite a lot of information about some of the background information about it and all that. I was reading that before. That was really interesting too.
Yeah, I mean, you can see like what some of the incentives are. You can see the story. I mean, we're really operating in a hugely transparent way. I mean, the script is up on angrymenmovie.com if people want to look at it and really see if it's worth giving to. And we've got our budget there. We want, especially when it comes to finances, transparency is always the best policy that I've found personally that works for me. And so we want people to know what their money's going to exactly. And once a person even becomes an investor, they'll get access to an investor's page that has like the really nitty gritty updates. And so we're going to be posting everything that we spend and receipts and all that crap. So it's like, just being open and honest about money. So nothing's weird. And we just want to be the best. We want to use everybody's money wisely.
I've never heard of a campaign that's posted the script up.
No,
that's a new one on me, and that's awesome.
A buddy of mine the other day goes, "Aren't you afraid like someone's going to steal your script and make it?" I was like, "That'd be awesome." Maybe they let me come work on it because this stuff is hard. Like, someone can make it. My hat's off to them.
No, that's. I've honestly, I've never seen that. It's my hat's off to you on that one as well. It's brilliant.
Yeah, good stuff. Now we have one more question for you, Nathan. So, whenever we have guys like yourselves on 365, we like to ask this one question just to put you on the spot completely and totally throw you, just to wind up the interview. We have a section on our website called 365 Picks, which our guests, such as yourself, choose 365 movies that you think everybody should watch before they die. So we're going to ask you for your addition to that list.
Well, obviously, I'm going to say 12 Angry Men. Yeah. I think 12 Angry Men is my favorite film of all time. I don't watch it yearly. I watch it quarterly, sometimes weekly. And can I name more than one, or is it just one?
I'm sure we could let you have another
one.
Go
on, if you have more than one on you.
No, let's just 12 Angry Men. I mean, let me give some maybe, other mentions. Like one of my favorites of all time too is The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
Yeah.
Nice.
Sure somebody said that before. And then I'm a stop motion fan guy. I love Fantastic Mr. Fox. But yeah, 12 Angry Men is definitely the top of my list. If I had to pick one, that's the one. Love that movie.
Excellent. We've not had that one yet. And you know what? It's been a long time since I watched 12 Angry Men. I might have to give that a rewatch soon.
I don't think I've ever seen it.
It's great. It is great. Like, it's
Yeah.
proper, like, really good Glengarry before Glengarry. Just great dialogue. Excellent back and forth. So, yeah.
Right, Nathan, well, this has been an absolute pleasure. We wish you the absolute best of luck. We want everybody to check out angrymenmovie.com. Give whatever you can. This is going to be a cracking film, Nathan.
Yeah.
Hey, guys, thanks a bunch.
Absolutely.
And thanks to your audience for hearing it out. And, appreciate it to no end.
You're very, very welcome. And, when you get to making your next film, The Smugglers, get yourself back on. Tell us what's happening with that. We're more than happy to have you back on again.
Absolutely. Have a great day.
This is the problem, though. When people come on the show, they can then no longer get rid of us. So he will be back on anyway. Right. So thank you very much, Nathan. This has been fantastic.
Absolutely.
Crisis for the geek kind. Top geek officials admit they underestimated the hipsters' defense capability. Join the geek revolution and save the galaxy. Geeks from all over the globe are joining up to fight for the future. They're doing their part. Are you? Want to know more? Join Weeby Geeks and the Geek Revolution and save the world. Service guarantees citizenship. Listen to Weeby Geeks podcast on iTunes and Stitcher or online at weebygeeks.net. Weeby Geeks, your voice for the Geek Revolution. Want to know more?
So that was Nathan.
That was Nathan.
Yeah, good guy.
Awesome guy. Really enjoyed that crack. Really can't wait to see what he does with this film. I'm going to keep an eye out. Definitely going to keep an eye out because he named like 12 Angry Men. Like we're talking about Hidden Figures. We talked about the fact that he doesn't like it when movies don't portray space shuttles right.
Mm-hmm.
I tried to get him there. I tried to get him to be like, oh man, Apollo 13 shit, but he wasn't having it.
It's got Tom Hanks in it. It can't be shit.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, Tom Hanks is Tom Hanks. So yeah, that was an awesome indie talk. We want you to keep having a look for that. Get onto the website nathanvonminden.com/Angry Men to find the Angry Men page. You will just love everything that's up there. It's a proper, well laid out page.
You can also click like on his Facebook page as well, Angry Men.
Yeah, and that is his campaign. But before we leave, I'm going to give another quick shout out to Gary Chudley. So, because he posted the front cover for Miranda.
Yeah,
it looks badass. It does. So, get yourself on a Kickstarter. He's on there. Find Plagued Volume 2, Miranda Chronicles, and give as much as you can.
Yeah. Are we turning into a children in need bit for movie makers?
I'm not Lenny Henry.
No, you are not.
No. Wow. Why?
What?
What? Just because you're a bit more portly than I am, you could be Lenny Henry. Is that what you're saying?
And I've also slept in more Travelodges, so...
Oh. Yeah, okay. Let's not talk about that. He doesn't do Travelodge, he does Premier Inn.
Oh, bygones. Okay.
You big numpty.
Shut up.
So yeah, this is episode 95. This indie talk has been great, and we want you to get behind Nathan's project, where a million times we're going to share it all over the Facebook, the Twitter, and make sure it gets done. You are not done hearing about this movie.
Yep.
So we're going to go?
We are going to go.
Do you have anything you want to say to the listeners?
It's really windy outside, and I've got to walk home now in a minute. Yeah.
Right.
That'd be fine.
Doesn't bother me. So yeah, I'm going to walk home as well, into my house, which is 2 feet away.
Yeah.
So yeah, and guess what, guys? We've got 4 days. Justice League.
Oosh.
Are we doing a special Justice League episode?
I think we should.
Yeah. About how awesome it is.
Well, let's not get carried away.
Oh, come on, man. It's going to be the balls.
Calm down.
Okay. So that's us. We're off. We'll be back for 96, which probably come out on Friday. So see you later.